I would love to tell you I'm not surprised, but I'd be lying. That's it. That's my intro. Hey, I'm Amanda. You're watching Swell Entertainment, and today we are once again talking about family vloggers and family channels and channels that specifically rely on their children to make content. So in the description box, I'm going to link this piece from User Mag by Taylor Lorenz. I do think it's a really great deep dive into this conspiracy theory that I'm going to talk about in this video. I'm mostly talking about the bill more than anything, and then one of the creators that is being lumped in with this situation on TikTok. And I do still want to discuss all of this because all of my points I still stand by for the most part, but there is not a mass exodus of family channels leaving California. And Taylor goes into great detail about this, especially the main cases that people are pointing to. Now, that being said, personally, I think that this could just be the start of what's happening. We are currently in tax season right now, and so things that this might be affecting will start really coming to potentially start affecting people in the next couple of weeks / months / over the next year. So who knows if this is going to change, but currently most of the people that have left are not citing this bill as the reason that they are leaving. But the bill is real, and Taylor also points out a good point, which I think it kind of comes down to how this could potentially be argued if this goes further, but she mentions that sponsorships are not covered in the bill. Overall, it's a great piece, and I will link it down below. Now, I live in California. I've always lived in California, all right? And obviously, I live in LA. Because we have Hollywood and the entertainment industry, we also have these things called Coogan laws, okay? Or there are these things called Coogan laws, I should say. The Coogan law, or also the California Child Actors Bill, is something that is specifically attached to SAG-AFTRA. According to the SAG-AFTRA website, Coogan law, at present, Coogan accounts are required by the state of California, New York, Illinois, Louisiana, and New Mexico. Specifically for California, it states that parents in California are required to open a Coogan account and must be opened with a California bank. A Coogan account is a special blocked trust fund account found at a bank, credit union, or brokerage firm. And this is specifically for child actors and entertainers, and I believe it means that at least 15% of what the children makes has to go into a Coogan account, and they cannot touch it until they are 18, and the parents cannot touch it. But like I said, this is specifically for child actors and entertainers that are associated with SAG-AFTRA. Influencers and creator children and children of family channels do not have to have Coogan accounts legally. In fact, I've heard some people say like, oh yeah, no, you don't have to set anything aside for them. I have issues with family channels for a variety of reasons, but this is one of them, okay? The fact that these children are involved in this content. In a lot of these instances, this content would not exist if these children were not present, and there is no legal requirement for any of the money that is being made involving these children to be set aside for these children's future. That there was no legal requirement to set the money aside for these children that were heavily involved online and in some instances actively put in danger in a lot of instances. When you think about it, your children are now being shown to potentially millions more people in the small span of their life at that time than they would maybe meet in their entire lifetime. And therefore, you have to think about the possibility that a subset of that group of people that is now watching your child grow up, okay, watching you share bath time, okay, or them getting their first period and things like that, that a subset of the viewers are not good people and have nefarious intent and goals. I want you to picture this scenario, okay? Your child gets out of school and a man approaches them, and this man seems to know a lot about your child and their family and you. So of course your child thinks, oh my gosh, they must know my parents. Scary, right? Yeah, that's what you have to fucking think about when you are putting your children on the internet. Amanda, that's the worst case scenario. Yeah, no shit, okay? I, as an adult woman, okay, have had people come up to me trying to convince me that they know me because they watch me from YouTube. And I'm 27. I have the ability to be like, hey, that's really fucking weird, but I'm also bad with names. So even I was like, God, have I met this person before? Imagine a fucking 6-year-old. Now, I want to make it abundantly clear because I do think there are fucking levels to this. There are people who are creators who happen to have families, who happen to have children, okay? The child appearing in 1 in every 5 videos, for whatever reason, I don't consider that a family channel. There's other various things that could come up. people that have their children in it, but they don't show their faces and things like that, okay? There's various levels to this. But if you are actively showing and vlogging 24/7 of you and your children's lives, I think you are putting your children in danger, okay? And that's my personal prerogative. You don't have to fucking like me. You don't have to agree with me, whatever the fuck. I don't really care. But that's my personal opinion. So my point is that I am not shocked by any of the people moving or relocating because of this. So basically, there is a new Senate bill that passed in California that is going to require that for vlogging families and children that are involved in vlogging, depending on how much of the vlog they are in, a percentage of that income needs to be put into a bank account for that child. This is SB 764, Minors Online Platforms, Senate Bill 764. And this was approved in September 26, 2024. And I'm just going to read this for you here. Existing law regulates certain contracts for artistic employment between an unemancipated minor and third parties, including employment as an actor, dancer, musician, comedian, singer, stunt person, voiceover artist, and other performer or entertainer and sports participants. That bit is specifically talking about the Coogan law, okay? This bill would require a vlogger, as defined, to compensate a minor under 18 years of age if the minor is engaged in the work of vlogging as specified. The bill would require the vlogger to set aside gross earnings on the content in a trust account to be preserved for the benefit of the minor as specified. The bill would also require the vlogger to prepare a written statement under penalty of perjury that includes specified information relating to the trust account. By expanding the scope of the crime of perjury, the bill would impose a state-mandated local program. The bill would require the vlogger to maintain records, including, among others, the number of vlogs that generated compensation and the amount deposited into the trust account, and to provide them to the minor upon request. The bill would authorize the minor to enforce these provisions in court. The bill would require that these provisions do not apply to a contract for vlogging services between a minor and their parent or guardian, only if a court approves the contract. And then the post goes on to explain vlog versus vlogger. I will link this down below. This is leginfo.legislator.cal.gov. But further down, it talks about the specification for different terms as they are saying as defined. Online platform means any public-facing internet website, web application, or digital application, including a mobile application. So YouTube, Instagram, Twitch, TikTok, etc. Vlog means content shared on an online platform in exchange for compensation. So that means that in this definition, this would classify as a vlog. So if I had a child sitting here, that would be creepy. But if I just had a child sitting here, this would be classified as a vlog to them. Vlogger means a parent, legal guardian, or family residing in California that creates image or video content that is performed in California in exchange for compensation. Vlogger does not include any person under 18 years of age who produces their own content. So if I was a minor, I would not be classified as a vlogger in this case. Vlogging means the act of sharing content on an online platform in exchange for compensation. So here's a little bit more details about the child's involvement in these content and what this would mean. 6651, a minor is considered engaged in the work of vlogging when the following are met at any time during a given month. A1, at least 30% of the vlogger's compensated video content or the vlogger's compensated image content includes the likeness, name, or photograph of the minor. The percentage pursuant to paragraph 1 is measured by the amount of time the likeness, name, and paragraph of the minor visually appears or is the subject of an oral narrative in a video segment as compared to the total length of the segment. Oral narrative. So if I'm sitting here telling you the story, oh God, who fucking wrote this? The number of views received per image or video segment on any online platform met the online platform's threshold for compensation, or the vlogger received actual compensation for image or video content equal to or greater than 10 cents per view. The vlogger received actual compensation for image or video content of at least $1,000 in a month. All vloggers whose content features a minor engaged in the work of vlogging as described in subdivision A shall maintain and make available to the minor upon request all the following records. Oh God, I'm sorry. I'm like, this is literally what I fucking asked for like a year ago. Yeah, it was like a year ago when I made a video about like the Gen Alpha influencers, and I talked about this. Did they fucking hear me? Documentary proof of the minor's age when they started vlogging as described in subdivision. So if you filmed your child's first steps and turned it into their entire fucking God. Obviously, this isn't backdated, I assume. It goes into effect probably content as of a certain date, I'm assuming. So like there's no back pay, I'm assuming, going on here. The number of vlogs that generated compensation as described in section during each reporting period, the total number of minutes of the vlogs that the vlogger received compensation for during each reporting period, the total number of minutes each minor was included in as described in paragraph 1, a subdivision A during each reporting period, the total compensation generated from vlogs featuring the minor during the reporting period. God, this is a lot. People who do stay will probably need to bring on an accountant to just focus on this. Season is in April. Things are a mess, obviously, with our current federal government, but I will still be filing my taxes and trying to get those done as quickly as possible. Are they moving now because of taxes? Are they being told this because of taxes? Because they have to pay a certain amount of money from 2024 would be my guess, or at least an accountant might be making them aware of it. Some people did move in 2024. Some of the people that I know of that like are like potentially going to be having children moved earlier. This did go into effect in September, is what it looks like. I'm assuming it's taxes, okay? Because something that you need to understand about family vloggers. I recently watched a docuseries on Max called An Update on Our Family, okay? And heads up, it can be upsetting, but it's not as upsetting as some others, okay? But it's frustrating. One thing that the documentary does really well is that it blurs all of the children's faces that are involved in the documentary because they are talking about family vloggers, specifically the Stoffers. The Stoffers are a family vlogging channel that no longer make content, but they vlogged their decision to adopt and go through the process of adopting a child from China. They shared this child's, I'm assuming the child's name has been changed, so that's why I'm going to share it. Baby Huxley, okay, as they described him. They shared his medical issues, his time with them, and after about 2 years with him, he stopped appearing in their content, and it was shared that they found him a new home and that he was rehomed. I remember when all this was coming out on YouTube and all of this was a few years ago now, and this documentary is about that. Now, the Stoffers are not involved in the documentary. They do not make an appearance, but they have culture writers, journalists. They have adoptees as well, it speaks. I personally enjoyed the series as much as I can enjoy a series like that because it was also just like frustrating. But one thing that I did appreciate was that they blurred all the children's faces, including the family vloggers that appeared in the documentary as themselves to like talk about family vlogging. They blurred their children's faces as well because the nature of family vloggers, especially some people that speak about family vloggers, because these children's faces are already online, sometimes people don't feel the need to like further protect their identity on their own channels. So I do appreciate that they blurred their faces. But one thing that they talked about in this documentary, including the family vloggers themselves, is that pregnancy announcements and, gender reveals, all of that, your views go up when you share that you're having another child. So that's why you have a lot of family vloggers that have big families and a lot of children. Now, some family vloggers are also fairly religious. Not all, but some. So there's also that element as well as to why some people have a lot of children, because certain religions are like very into having multiple children. But that nature as well, the having multiple children element of things, is also what's going to curb stomp some of these family channels here in California. Because my guess is that when you have multiple children, you have to do this for all of them. Hence why you may need another accountant to just run these accounts if you choose to stay in California. One person in particular is one of the people that is being discussed about this a lot.
The original plan was to move in June 2025 once Jaden graduates high school in May. But they found mold in our rental house that we were in at the end of January, and so we had to move sooner. With the LA fires, rental inventory was already low, and there was none in Pasadena that worked for our family. So we moved up our timeline to Tennessee sooner. We ultimately decided on Tennessee because we wanted land, we want a slower pace of life, we have friends here, and it's a really good sense of community. They have an amazing climate for farming, which is what we ultimately want to do. Growing our own food and having our kids in nature as much as possible. I've been a full-time content creator since 2015. My income doesn't depend on if my kids are in my videos or not, but we've always made sure to set them up financially regardless. I even have a YouTube video on my channel from 2021 where I talk about how Jaden gets paid anytime she's in my content. It's called How My Gen Z Daughter Makes and Manages Her Money. All of our kids have a Roth IRA, a 529 plan for education, a trust fund that they get when they're 25, and their inheritance. And this idea that we left Jaden behind, she made that choice. She was actually really excited to live with her friend for the last couple months. The assumption that we moved to avoid paying our children is so laughable, considering how many times we've talked about financial planning and investing in not only our goals, but our children's future. At the end of the day, people are always going to believe what they want.
Brittany Xavier, basically she is responding to the claims that she abandoned her eldest in California to finish high school alone while staying with friends, but alone as in not with her family, so that they could move to Tennessee because of mold. She goes on to explain how she has set things up for her children, which great, and I don't want to knock that because she's done what I've asked. However, I don't think that that is a justification for, no, see, we weren't worried about this because we're already doing X, Y, and Z. Just because you were already paying your children from the content that they were making does not mean that that was enough to be the equivalent of what you will now have to set aside for the content overall. I have talked about how changing how my money is distributed, how that affected my personal spending because I was getting a fraction of the money. And it's not that I was overspending the money that I was making prior to this or things like that. I just never adapted or adjusted. But that's the nature with being self-employed in general. Your money is allocated as it's allocated. Okay? So something throwing a wrench in that, like a higher percentage having to go to your children, could upset the balance of your finances. So I can understand why someone would be like, I need to move because of that. I'm not saying that it means it's a good move or anything like that, but she is trying to say, I was already setting the money aside, that's why it's not it. You also could have been setting the money aside and the state of California is telling you it's not enough money. Of course, teenagers want to live alone. Sounds exciting. And then she's going to remember this when she's 27. Right now, it probably sounds like a great idea. I thought boarding school sounded cool when I was 15. Really glad I didn't do that, frankly. She's 18, and that's why they're allowing her to stay, is my understanding. Which, God, that would have been me too, because I was 18 in November of my senior year, because I was older. Wow. Yeah, that would be me. I would definitely be the child that would be abandoned back behind. I also agree with the comments on Brittany's video talking about, like, her emphasizing that her daughter made the choice to stay. The comments are basically saying you made her make that choice because you gave her the choice of starting over for her last couple of months of school at a new school in a new state, or staying with her friends and graduating at the school with her friends. Of course, she made that decision to stay there. You gave her that choice, and it wasn't much of a choice. It's either start over and deal with that, which is already very traumatic, let alone going through that as a senior in high school when you're just finishing up school, or stay and not have to deal with that and just live with your friends. Of course, that seems like the better option. I don't know how many family channels are actually still in LA currently, or in California specifically, because like I said, because they have bigger families, a lot of them have already moved out of California. A lot of people moved out of California back in 2020 period for the tax purposes. That's why there was a lot of creators that moved to Vegas, Texas, Florida, etc. Frankly, if I were to move out of California for whatever reason, it would probably be Vegas because I have quite a few friends there. I have a good support system there. Would I do it so I could become a family vlogger? Absolutely fucking not. If I had a child tomorrow, sorry, the pang of anxiety that just sent through my core just stressed me out. The only thing that would change about my content would be that I could talk about more products. Like I could talk about postpartum products and like mom products and things like that. Like it wouldn't be like, surprise, my child is here now. Let's change all the content. But that's my experience as someone who has too much people know about too much things about her growing up. I'm thinking of family vloggers because they're using the term vlogger in the bill. So I'm thinking of like the capital V vloggers with like YouTube and things like that. But this also falls under TikTokers. There's quite a lot more TikTokers that I think that live here that are family vloggers. I hope I'm with making this as well as to talk about this because I personally wanted a resource to talk about the bill as well, because I had been seeing a lot of people talk about this bill, but not actually saying like what bill it was. They were like, there's this new bill. And I was like, where is this? And I could not find it. So it's specifically Bill 764 here in California. And I mean, I am happy this is something because these children do need to be compensated. I honestly hope other states follow suit, but I don't know, because we also have the case of family vloggers that were not taking good care of their children and things like that. I know there is a documentary, I believe, coming out about the Frankie family, Ruby Frankie, who is currently in jail for treatment of her children and things like that. I have not watched that one yet. That one's going to be really upsetting. I know it. I know her daughter put out a book. I still have not read that yet. I don't know. I don't see my personal opinion of family channels and vloggers changing anytime soon. I've seen too much. I know too much about this industry, you know. I just to believe you're one of the good ones. That's going to be it. Have you heard about Bill 7064? Have you heard of any creators in the last, let's say, 6 months that have moved to Tennessee or any other states? What are your personal opinions on family vloggers? Let me know. Comment down below. Reminder, I stream on Twitch. Reminder that Swell Entertainment is now available on Spotify. Reminder, use code SWELL for 10% off on gamer subs. Shout out to my channel members who also like to follow me on channel memberships. You can go ahead and click the link down below. If you like to follow me on social media, that'll be all up here. And that's going to be a hell of a day. Goodbye. Brittany, if you see this, I hope your daughter has a great graduation. And I hope that she doesn't hold resentment for you for this in the future.